And taking my shoes off because we're gonna be doing stuff together today. You might want to take your shoes off too, or your pants. It's all okay. And I requested one of these so I can do this and move around a bit. So you're also welcome to do that with me too if you want. I went up to someone and I said, do I have to stand here the whole time? There was after last year where you had to stand because of the virtual in the one spot. That would have been bad for me. So welcome and thank you for being here and thank you for being awake. It is 3:30 on a Saturday, on our first day. It's been a really warm day. The sun is shining, so I completely respect what you're feeling. If you're feeling tired, if you're feeling like, oh my God, information overload, if you're feeling like you'd just like to go back to your hotel room and have a nap right now, just wait till I'm done, because you will get to do all of those things, but you're going to go home feeling fucking amazing. And disclaimer, I'm spiritual and I swear. So if you're offended, please forgive me now, because I'll try my very hardest. It's probably not going to help. All right. I live from a particular paradigm in my life. And that paradigm is my success is inevitable. That is my own personal mantra. But it isn't an affirmation because affirmations largely do not work. And the reason that they do not work is because their foundation is faulty. The fault is in the subconscious mind. We all have one of these, and in fact, 90% of our lives is lived from our subconscious mind. So we can use affirmations as often as we like, but until we begin to understand the contents of our subconscious mind, and most importantly, begin to come into alignment with the laws of the universe, and there are laws, we will not have the success that we desire. My mantra, my success is inevitable, is based on really good science. So I'm going to ask you today, if you will do something for me. I'm going to ask you if you will find the faith to believe that the universe has your back. But I'm not asking you to have blind faith. I'm going to give you evidence as to why the universe does have your back. You've just been breaking the law and wondering why things have been going bad. So let me introduce myself. My name is Ricky Jane Adams. This is my institute, the Institute for Intuitive Intelligence. It's a very exciting thing for me to be able to say I have an institute. I began my institute in July 2014, so it hasn't been that long. But I've been on my spiritual path all of my life, and as an adult, I sort of did my first Reiki training when I was 15. I took myself off to do my transpersonal counselling course, which Shannon and I have both done, when I was 20 or 21. This has been a lifelong pursuit, but I didn't start my institute until 2014. And I started it out of a crisis, which I want to share with you, because obviously these personal stories of transformation can make what I'm talking about real for you. I'm often accused of being too happy, and I'm okay with that, because I actually am this happy. And I also have my bad days, but the reason that my life is generally high-vibing is because I'm living in accordance with the laws. So once again, not blind faith, not false positivity bullshit. I'm not putting a happy smile on a pile of dog shit. I'm genuinely feeling excited about my life. And I will share with you what these laws are, and I want to tell you my story. First, I want to tell you what intuitive intelligence is. Hands up in this room if you would say that at some point in your life you've experienced an intuitive hit, gut instinct. Your intuition has been present. You've known something without logic. You've just had a feeling that you needed to do something. It wouldn't surprise me. We are heart-centered, soulful creators, and we're usually operating sometimes from the non-dominant senses. And I'm very glad to see that most of you put your hands up. Who also knows that they've heard their intuition and terror has prevented them from trusting it? Yeah? Anyone ever knew what they should do and been absolutely shit scared to follow? Yes, that's also very normal. So intuitive intelligence is going from, I know that I'm intuitive, I've felt enough to understand that I know things about the world that is not through my dominant five senses, but moving from that, which all of us are, to how do I trust and act upon that intuition? Because that is where most of us fail. That is where most of us fail in our businesses. That is where we go into fear. So what is fearlessness? Ellen and I talked about this on the podcast. It's not the absence of fear. That just isn't the way it is. We're human. We live in the world. It is the capacity to meet that fear and look it in the face and say, no, this far and no further. Let's find out what's really going on here. And that's how we start to know the difference between our intuition and our fear. So let me tell you about my story. That's my posse. That's my little tribe there. They're not my why. They're their why. Their life has nothing to do with me. I get to hang out with them, not that much at the moment, but generally we are in the same place at the same time, and they're awesome. That's my husband, Julian. He's a research scientist, 100% zero woo-woo, by the way. Not into what I do at all, just wants me to be happy. My sense of self-worth is not built on waiting for him to approve of what I do. I will be waiting a very fucking long time if I get that man to agree with me about anything. But I chose him because he's the kindest, most compassionate human being I've ever met. And I dated a lot of spiritual men. I don't recommend it. Basically, if someone's trying to convince you that they're the latest Deepak Chopra, you should run from the room because they're generally telling you about their spirituality rather than living it. Whereas this man lives everything that I believe is what it is to be spiritual, loving kindness, for example. And they're my kids. And they're pretty awesome. The little one is Luca, who's nearly 5. He wants a Halloween-themed birthday party. We're going to do that in July. It's okay, we can do that. And that's my oldest son, Finn, and he's awesome in every way, and a huge challenge. He has an intellectual disability. He has central auditory processing disorder, and he's just been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And none of that makes me feel afraid. And none of that stops me being here with you lot. In fact, it makes me more excited to do what I'm doing, and I'm going to tell you why. So what I do is travel around Australia talking to women and training them in the intuitive sciences. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today, but mostly I want to apply it to your own lives and to your business. The thing is that there is a science to intuition, and we dismiss our non-dominant sense, our sixth sense, because mostly we have not taken the time to educate ourselves about that science. And that's because when we start talking about faith and spirituality, we have all of this back catalogue of bullshit that comes up. Perhaps the religion you were raised in, where the people who were empowered were abusive. Perhaps the culture you were raised in, where being a good Christian person meant that you actually had to deny your own feelings. Perhaps the idea that you couldn't talk or think about God because of the world that we live in, the Western paradigm that says those things have no validity. I don't really care what your backstory is. I'm asking you simply to turn up today with an empty cup and perhaps be surprised about the fact that there is so much science to validate my view of the world and how it has taken me in 2 years, because I'm not counting the first year of my business because it was a bit wonky. I learned, what was it, fail fast? Who said that? I failed fast and recovered from that one, fired my mother and my sister. I'll tell you more about that story, and began again. And in 2 years, I went 6 figures profit, okay? So in 2 years, I built this institute and took it 6 figures profit. And that I have done using my spirituality, which has nothing to do with crystals, nothing to do with incense, nothing to do with green smoothies or chai tea, although I love all those things, and I have all of them in my life. What I have done, my background is as a researcher and an academic, is I have understood the science and the laws of the universe, and that is what I want to share with you today. But what took me to the point where I actually started this institute is hitting rock bottom. We often hear this story, yeah? So I was an academic. I worked at Melbourne University. I got my PhD from Melbourne University because I wanted the best qualification from the best university in Australia. And I had that wonderful partner that you saw there, that wonderful man, and I had one kid already and another one was coming into the world around at that time. And a little bit like Kylie's story, you know, I looked like I had it all. It was all there, all the elements were there on paper. And I just was out of control. I was angry, very, very angry. And I was angry with everybody around me. I was very angry with Julian. I was very angry with my children. I was very angry with the expectations that everybody had of me. Except that no one had any expectations of me. I had these expectations of me. I thought I was meant to be a career academic an amazing wife and an awesome mother and do all of those things whilst wearing my negligee and baking stuff in the kitchen. And I was miserable. I was totally fucking miserable. And I ended up with a generalised anxiety disorder, and I ended up being medicated, which was not something I ever thought would happen in my life. You know, my whole life had been my spiritual path. And here I am in my mid-30s, at the point where it looked like everything was as I wanted it to be. I was a fucking mess, and I hated my life. And I didn't understand why. And what I realised is that at my foundation, I had all of this fear. All of my spiritual seeking had just built on a faulty foundation because I had not gone to meet my fear. And it doesn't matter what modality you do, it doesn't matter what you study, it doesn't matter what you do with your life. If you don't go and meet your fear, you're building on a faulty foundation and nothing will work. So what my spirituality is, my brand of spirituality is I vow this day to meet my fear. And that's me. That's hilarious. And I'm going to talk about it. Oh my God, I look so good, it's so big. That's really exciting. This has literally just happened this week. It's actually not even available yet, but it is my manifesto. So spiritually fierce is the idea of not the bollocks, not the woo-woo, not buy this crystal, not do this on the full moon, none of that. None of that frees us from our fear. It just adds more layers of crap on top of it, and we wonder why I put all my crystals out onto the full moon and I'm still having a shit life. Why? It's because the moon doesn't, and nothing, none of that matters. I'll try not to go too far out there just yet. But basically, it doesn't matter what you do if it's informed by fear. And we will do anything in our power. Most of our lives is spent avoiding meeting our fear. We will marry the wrong man, eat all the chocolate, spend all the money, get ourselves into ridiculous debt. All of these things are an attempt not to meet our own fear and to create more chaos so we can avoid that. So I'm asking you to have blind faith, and I want you to start trusting the universe, because when you understand how the universe actually works, you're going to understand how you've been breaking the law. And when you know that, you've got the keys to the kingdom or the empire. Really, you do. Okay, so I'm just having a little look and making sure I'm talking in order about everything I'm going to tell you. So the idea of spiritually fierce is the same as fearlessness. It's that idea that, yes, there will be fear, but I am prepared and willing to go and meet it. And the reason that we do that is because there's something bigger than our fear. And that thing that is bigger is the story that our heart is trying to tell us. There's something inside of you. There's something in your heart that is trying to tell you the truth about who you are. And you are not here to live an ordinary life in an ordinary way. Who's beginning to get an inkling of that in their own lives? I just tried being ordinary and it's not working out very well for me. And every time I try to be like the other kids, it goes to shit. So I feel like if you're here, it's because you've already understood at some very deep, perhaps subconscious level, that you're only just beginning to admit to yourself, or perhaps you're completely out and proud with how not normal you are. And that story in your heart will not leave you alone, which is exactly, what Elle's point is. There's something about Artful that will not leave her alone, and it's because it's a heart-led choice. And I'm going to tell you about the science of your heart, so you understand that following your passions is actually not the problem. Following your passions is actually the thing we should be doing. It's everything we do after that we need to change. Because your passions are actually guiding you exactly where you need to go. But then you hit all sorts of roadblocks and you think that your intuition and your passions are wrong. So yes, what we need to do is absolutely solve the problems. We need to be good, impeccable business people. But we cannot, just because I see perhaps, there's a problem in the market of bookkeeping, for example, that just because I can solve that problem doesn't mean I should, because maybe my talents lie elsewhere, for example. So I think, just because you can see a problem, you can solve it. That's only one part of the story. All right. So what I want to talk about is your heart. Because there is a science when we talk about living from the heart, living from your passions. It isn't just nice Hallmark card platitudes. When you understand the science, you will begin to become the master of your own reality, and you will begin to understand how, yes, following your passion has potentially led you astray, but that's because you do not understand that you are always, always creating your reality. What happens when we go out in pursuit of our passions? What rises up to meet that inspired action? What do we start feeling? Fear. And instead of going to meet that fear and dealing with that fear, we run in the other direction, and the fear keeps getting bigger and bigger and chasing us, and then things fall over. Instead, we need to do this. Okay, bring it. Let's do this. And that's how we overcome the obstacles. But we have to have the tools. We have to know how to do that. So what we're going to do together now is a practice. We're going to learn a practice called heart coherence. And I'm going to explain to you the science of heart coherence, because when you understand that if you are not in coherence, you will not be able to know what your inspired action or your intuition is telling you, and you will take wrong action. And then you will blame your intuition, or you'll blame your passions, or you'll blame your inspired action, when in fact you're the problem. You just didn't know the laws, and you were breaking them. You cannot be out of coherence and build a business or a life that you want. So what is heart coherence? In your anatomical heart, not your metaphysical chakra, but your anatomical heart, there are a cluster of around 40,000 neurons. And those neurons are what we call the little brain in the heart. So those neurons are basically creating a superhighway when you're in a coherent state between your heart brain and your cranial brain. Your heart brain is in fact the most superior form of intelligence that you have. I call this intuitive intelligence. Heart Math Institute, who are the people who do the science, call it the heart's intelligence. So your heart has a brain. And not only does your heart have a brain, your heart has a brain that tells your cranial brain more information than your cranial brain tells to your heart. It's literally in charge. And I'm going to give you some more evidence to show you that. Heart Math Institute did an experiment where they wired up subjects through all of their physiological registers, so heart rate and dilation and all those sorts of things. And then they were going to show them a series of images on a computer that the computer randomly selected. And they were registering heart rate and heart rate variability while they were doing this so that they could see what the response was in the physiology. The heart had a response to the image that was being randomly selected 6 seconds before the image was shown. This is science. This is peer-reviewed, empirical, evidence-based science. The heart then told the brain, and the brain had a response 3 seconds before the image was shown on the screen. The brain then produced the chemicals that sent signals out to the body, and the body's systems responded to whatever the content of that image was. It all began here. When I say live from your heart, I am not talking in a hallmark platitude. I'm literally telling you where your superior intelligence resides. When your heart's intelligence is switched on, all your other intelligences become pronounced. Your creative intelligence, your analytical intelligence, and your emotional intelligence. You cannot go through the world in a chaotic, incoherent state and know your intuition or know what your inspired action is trying to tell you. You cannot hear your inner mentor. All you can hear is your inner critic saying, don't want to shit, go and eat a chocolate. That's all you can hear because you're like this. Or, as this shows you, you're in that kind of heart rate variability and you want to move to here. So should we try a practice? And then I'm going to tell you how in 3 minutes you're all going to be younger. Should we do it? Okay. So you're going to go on a little journey with me right now. Uncross your legs, spine straight, sitting up in your chair. No matter how many macarons you just ate, you can still be fully present to this life-changing practice. Actually going to be younger in 3 minutes. You're going to want to do this. Okay. We are going into a practice of heart coherence. You're going to bring that little brain in your heart into being in charge of all of the systems of your body. You're going to close down your eyes. You're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, let it go out through the mouth with a big old sigh. Let's do that again, because I'm a little bit deaf. I couldn't hear much then. Beautiful. Your eyes are closed, the breath is deepened. Just keeping a slightly extended breath, a little bit longer than your normal rhythm. And these two things alone signify to your physiology that you are very, very safe. No bears are currently trying to eat you. You can move out of your fight or flight response. Everything is very well. And now you're going to take two fingers very lightly to the center of your chest, just applying a little bit of pressure. Letting your consciousness know this is where you want your attention to be. And now for just 1 minute, with all of your mental will, you're going to conjure up images of people or places or events, memories that bring up feelings, deep feelings of gratitude, appreciation, and compassion. This is not meditation. This is not relaxation. You should be working overtime right now to keep that monkey mind of yours focused on mental images that will powerfully bring up feelings of gratitude, appreciation, compassion. Keep lovingly bringing the mind back. Perhaps it's the perfect cup of coffee, a smile from one of Elle's babies. A macaron. Whatever it is, don't judge it good or bad. Just keep building a feeling. Double your efforts. If you find your mind wandering, bring it back. Bowls full of puppies. Whatever it is, it's going to get you there. Take a deep breath in. Let it go out through your mouth. Lower your hand to your lap, and when you're ready, blinking, open your eyes. So not only are you now in a heart coherent state, you have the borrowed benefit or the exponentially increased power of doing that practice with a room full of heart-centered people. So we're actually formed now one coherent heartbeat. We are now in coherence with one another. And it ideally will feel like there's just a sense of expansiveness around you rather than perhaps a sense of contraction. You just feel open. And that's because fear contracts. And mostly we run around in a state like a bear is about to eat me. Like everything we do it in a slightly like, oh my God, everything's moving very fast. I have to hurry now, and the traffic and the people and the kids and the dirt, and they won't put their shoes on and blah, 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 blah. And we're constantly in this state. And when we move into heart coherence, which by the way you can do any time, you cannot do it too much, you just expand. And this is a law, and we're going to talk about which law it applies to in a moment. What I want you to know about getting younger, because you're all younger now than you were 3 minutes ago, is that there is good science to this practice. The great scientist and metaphysician Greg Graydon says that this is the century of the heart. We are going to learn about the technology of the anatomical heart in ways that we have never known before. We may know if we're on a spiritual path that we want to live a heart-centered life. As creators, we may want that. But I want you to have the science to back that shit up. I want you to be able to talk to people down the pub and tell them what the science of this is. So you're younger now because you just produced something, an enzyme. That's my science reference book over there. Emma Turpin, great medical intuitive, one of my priestesses, hang out with her. And you've just produced the enzyme telomerase. And what telomerase does is, at the end of each of your chromosomes, you have something called a telomere. The telomere is like the little bit of the plastic on the shoelace at the end that stops it from fraying. And that's exactly what it does in your body. But as you age, every time that chromosome divides, that telomere gets shorter and shorter and shorter until there's no telomere left and it starts fraying. And that is aging. That's the aging process. You just produced telomerase. Telomerase produces telomere. Telomere stops your body from aging. You literally have that power and that capacity in your hands. This is good science. You can go to your natural supplement store and buy a supplement called Telomerase, and let me tell you why it won't work. What did you all just do then to produce the telomerase? You have produced a mental image, but what was behind the mental image? The emotion, the feeling. The feeling. When they go and find people who have lived for like ridiculous amounts of time, 100 years, 200 years, and talk to them about what is it that they did that meant that they have such a long life, they all have the same story, and Braden tells the story. They all say, I lived for love. My life was about my family, or it was about loving, it was about living perhaps a passionate life, a heart-centered life. And that is their secret. It's not the green smoothies they drink. It's not even the special crystal they put out under the full moon. It's living in a state of love. And the beauty of that practice is that you absolutely get to choose in every moment your response to your life. This is big shit. Do you mean life's not happening to me? You mean I don't have to just jump into every emotion that I feel? You mean I could take 2 minutes, close my eyes, generate a heart coherent state, and sit outside of my emotions rather than being a victim of them? Yes, you can do all of that. You've literally moved from that chaotic state, and look at it, it looks chaotic. Why would you want to live there into this? You can see why your body would come into optimal functioning when you produce that. Okay, so let's talk about the laws and how you've broken them. I've broken them too, we all have. It's not just a special thing, it's very common. All right, so one of the things we often talk about is if you follow your passions. This has come up quite a lot today. If you follow your passions, you're going to be successful. Just do it. Just take the leap into the unknown. If you're following your passions, it's all going to work out great. Just follow your heart, listen to your intuition. It's all going to work out. If you do that, everything will work for you. And that's bullshit. We all know that because we've all done it, and it's all not worked at various times. And this is where I come back to my personal central mantra. My success is inevitable. And how do I know that? I know that because I live in accordance with the laws. So we should probably find out what those laws are, yeah, and how you're breaking them. All right. There is a governing system of mystical laws that manage this cosmos and hold all things together. All things are ordered to the second. The universe is impartial. Now, this is taken from a text called Kybalion that was published in 1908. The 3 laws come from a god called Hermes, also known as Thoth, in the time of Hellenic Greece. Now, you're saying, okay, they're laws, but they're like spiritual laws, Ricky, so they're all bullshit, yeah? So I don't need to follow those laws. The beautiful thing is that what has happened in this last century is that science can now evidence all of these laws. There are 3 immutable laws. There are 7 in total, but only 3 are immutable. So whilst this text speaks of mystical laws, I would like to speak to you of quantum physics, because quantum physics can show you how you are breaking the law and how you're wondering why pursuing your passions is not getting you the kind of success that you want, or you go a certain way and then shit goes bad, yeah? Or you think that you're on your path and then something happens that takes you away from it. You've just been breaking the law, and what a relief, because in a few minutes you're going to know what those laws are. I have no idea of the time. I should have watched at the airport yesterday. Totally no idea what the time is.
You've got about 10 minutes.
I've got about 10 minutes. Awesome. We better move. Okay. The first law, the law of mentalism. All is of the mind. What does this law mean? Everything that you live is belief. Everything that you live is constructed by your belief about it. And I'm going to tell you about an experiment. You've probably heard about it. It's called the double slit experiment. Has anyone not heard of this? Okay, cool. I'll tell you about it. When subatomic particles were observed, depending on the opinion of the scientist observing them, they would behave either as a particle or as a wave. They behaved according to the belief of the scientist. There are no watchers in the quantum field. What does that mean? Beyond our physical bodies, what we're truly made up is quantum subatomic particles. We are quantum particles. We are constantly in motion. We're going to meet the law of vibration to find out what that means. But basically, you are more than what you see in the mirror. This is science. There is nothing special about this. You are energy first, Physical second. Science has been saying this for about 100 years, but pretty much like Galileo's frustration, we still say the world is flat. We are energy first, physical second. We need to understand this to get our heads around this law. So we determine how the quantum field of which we are a part shows up for us depending on our belief about it. I live in an unsafe, scary world where shit goes bad and my success is going to fail because I'm not a good person. Basically, I'm broken. I'm fundamentally flawed. And if you haven't read The Big Leap, I recommend that you do, because he will tell you the 4 primary reasons why you will upper limit and fail. And we can look at these in accordance to this law. Your belief about your world is literally telling the quantum field how to behave. With great power comes great responsibility. So what do we mostly do? We run away from that power, yeah? We don't want that kind of responsibility. We do not want to know that it is our job to determine how our lives show up for us. But it is. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't matter if you have a bad day. It doesn't matter if you have 10 bad days. If you commit with spiritual fierceness or fearlessness to even just a heart coherent practice every day, even if you're having the shittest day ever, you're going to change how your life is showing up for you. This is science. There is nothing woo-woo about this. There are no watches in the quantum field. Okay. We're going to talk about how you've changed the contents of your subconscious mind tomorrow at my workshop. So if you're interested in going into this in more depth, come and let me know. How do you know when you're in your heart? If you like babies, you look at that baby and you go, yeah? So if you're saying to me, okay, heart coherence, whatever, but I sat there thinking about bowlfuls of puppies for that 3 minutes or whatever, Ricky, and I didn't feel anything, you just need to practice. That's my kid, he's pretty cute. I look at that picture and I'm like, I'm in my heart, yeah? So find your go-to. This is not a relaxation or a meditation practice. What you have just been given, besides being the best anti-aging tool on the market and totally free, is an act of discipline. If you want to change the way that the quantum field behaves in your life, you need to commit to the practice of looking at that kid. You need to commit to the practice of getting into your heart. All right. So we talked about heart coherence. The law of correspondence, as within, so without. As within, so without. I cannot sit here in my unmet fear, terrified of everything, and expect the world to behave any differently. I am literally, as we've just learned from quantum physics, from the double slit experiment, programming the way the world shows up to me. You have to look at your shit. You have to be prepared to meet your fear. You have to look it in the eye and say, what am I most afraid of? I'm afraid of failure. I'm terrified my business is going to fail. So I might just not start. Or I'm going to do something to sabotage it. I'm going to make it impossible. Or the first sign of dissent from my partner who says, Ricky, you travel too much. I go, oh, well, there's a good excuse. No, I don't. I say, with love, let's talk about that. But that's not going to stop me. I'm not looking for permission. But we use our partners, our children, our lives, our everything as an excuse. We use our lives as an excuse not to show up. And you have a choice about that now. So as within, so without. Go into, and you can learn more about how to do that with me tomorrow, into that incredible inner subconscious mind, 90% of where you're operating from, and meet your fear. A Course in Miracles says to us, we're never actually afraid of the things that we're afraid of. So go further, go deeper. All fear is one fear, luckily. It's just one thing. All fear is one fear. And if you want to know more about how to clear that fear, go hang out with Gail O'Keefe or come to my workshop. Because we will tap on that shit. Tap that. She doesn't use the shit word as much as I do. All right. One of the ways that I do this, and it's so powerful I have it tattooed on my arm, is when I'm in a situation that I'm like, oh my God, everything's shit, it's all gone wrong, everything's bad, I'm going to die, everybody's in, and my husband will leave me because I'm never home, blah, 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 and I don't cook dinner anymore, and oh my God, I'm the worst mother ever. I come back to the moment, which is all there is, by the way. Quantum physics also tells us this. What if there is no problem? And I have it literally tattooed here because I literally need to see that every day. As within, so without. If I stop seeing the events of my life as a problem, what if they stop being a problem? No, the problems don't go away, but my relationship to the world stops seeing everything as a problem. Instead, it is just life happening. And the final one, the law of vibration. I'm going to demonstrate this one to you with a practice. I've got time for like 2-minute practice. The law of vibration. Everything is in motion. Change is inevitable. Let's jump on that, because that is the most liberating piece of information that we have. We spend our lives trying to ensure things will not change. But we are in a constant state of change every moment. Literally, our bodies are regenerating every moment. We are fields within fields within fields. This is quantum physics. And those fields are constantly moving. That movement, the law of vibration tells us, is the essence of our being, and it's also the essence of how we can change our reality. I won't go too much into the Planck time and quantum physics side of it now, but if you want to come and learn more with me tomorrow, I'd love you to do that. But effectively, nothing is fixed. Everything, moment by moment, is up for grabs, and you have the choice about how you order up from the cosmos, how you invite the universe to show up for you. And let's have an experience of that right now, because I think it's a good time for us to do this one. We're going to do a very active meditation together now, okay? And you can do it with eyes closed, but I recommend, or eyes open, but I recommend eyes closed because you'll have no self-consciousness. Make sure you've got enough room around you to do this. And don't whack anyone in the face, as fun as it might be.
No. Sorry, Ricky.
No. Joy, there is no question. What if there is no problem? Yeah. What if there is no problem? What a relief. Okay. We are now going to change our vibration. We're going to have an experience of changing our vibration. We're going to do it very simply. We spend most of our life saying no. We can lower them for a moment. We spend most of our, I know, personal challenge. We spend most of our life saying no to ourselves. We spend most of our life saying, no, I can't. No, I can't afford it. No, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. No, I can't. No, no, no. The world feels like it is constantly saying no to us. And that is a heavy vibration to carry around. What we want to do right now is give ourselves permission. We don't need to know what for. We just need to start saying yes to ourselves. So let's put our arms up right now, close down your eyes, take a deep breath in, let it go out through your mouth, and you're going to repeat yes, 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 in any tone, any volume, as fast or as slow as you like. You are simply going to keep repeating it again and again and again, and the group's going to do it, and I'm trying to turn off my mic so I don't deafen you. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 we are, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Let me whisper to yourself. Whisper it to yourself. Say yes to the deepest part of yourself. Yes. Yes. Slowly keeping your eyes closed, lower your hands to your lap. Just feel what you feel. Notice what you notice. Perhaps the heart is racing. Perhaps there's a sense of energy coursing through your body. Perhaps you feel shaky. Undoubtedly, you just changed your vibration. My success is inevitable because I live inside of the laws. The laws are evidenced by quantum physics. I always have a choice about how I feel and how I show up. And the more I show up in congruence or coherence, coming from a heart-centered space, the more the world shows me that that is the place that I live in. You don't have to not have bad days. Bad days happen. But if you commit with that inner discipline, that fire that says, I will not be a passive receiver of my life. I never, ever can be. I am always informing the quantum field as to how to show up. And I want to order up a different life. You don't have to know what that life looks like. You just have to be willing to surrender to your heart's intuitive intelligence, because it knows. It has precognizance. It's got way more perspective on your life than you do. So I invite you, if you do nothing else, to try practicing that every day for the next week and just see what happens. You might discover that you can have a faith, a passion-filled life that is built on evidence, rather than just having to go on blind trust. And that means that, perhaps like me, your success will be inevitable. Okay.